What happens when a nuclear bomb explodes without the bomb? June 30th, 1908, Siberia. A pillar of fire, brighter than the sun, lit up the sky. An explosion, 185 times stronger than Hiroshima. It flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest. 80 million trees instantly vaporized or snapped like twigs. And yet, when investigators finally reached the site, there was no crater, no impact. This is the mystery of the Tunguska Event. The event began at 7:17 a.m. near the Podkamennaya Tunguska River. This is one of the most remote places on Earth. Witnesses were few and far between, but their accounts were terrifying. One man, 65 kilometers away, reported the sky split in two. A wave of heat so intense that it felt like his shirt was on fire. Then, the shockwave hit. It threw him several meters and knocked him unconscious. The sound was heard over 800 kilometers away. The atmospheric pressure wave circled the entire Earth twice. For nights afterward, the skies over Europe glowed so brightly people could read newspapers at midnight. But this was 1908, in remote Siberia. The area was sealed. Wars and revolutions shook the country. The event was almost forgotten. It wasn't until 1927, 19 years later, that the first scientific expedition led by Leonid Kulik finally fought its way to the site. Kulik was a mineralogist. He was hunting for a giant meteorite. He expected a massive impact crater, like the one in Arizona. He expected to find the mother of all meteorites. But when Kulik arrived, there was nothing. No crater, no hole, no fragments of iron. Instead, he found a scene of almost surgical devastation. A vast circular forest of dead trees, all flattened, pointing outward from a central point, like spokes on a giant wheel. And at the very center, ground zero, the strangest part of all, a small group of trees was still standing. They were scorched, dead, and stripped bare of every branch, like a forest of telegraph poles. The blast came from above. The mystery deepened. If nothing hit the ground, what caused the blast? The theories began. Was it a volcanic eruption? A pocket of natural gas exploding from the earth? No, the geology was wrong. There was no volcanic ash, no sulfur. This theory was dismissed. Was it something more exotic? A piece of antimatter colliding with our atmosphere? Unlikely. Scientists calculated such an event would have been far, far larger. A mini black hole passing through the Earth? Again, no. A black hole would have created an exit wound on the other side of the planet. No such wound was ever found. Was it an alien spaceship, a UFO that malfunctioned and exploded? This became a popular theory, but decades of searching have found no exotic materials, no engine parts, no evidence. Or perhaps the most famous theory of all, Nikola Tesla. The scientist was experimenting with the wireless transmission of energy. Did he accidentally fire a bolt of energy from his Wardenclyffe tower that struck Siberia? It's a fantastic story, but there is no proof. The tower was never fully operational. We are left with one theory. the one that explains everything. It was not an impact. It was an air burst. An object from space, not a dense iron meteorite, but a fragile, icy comet, or a stony asteroid, about 50 to 100 meters wide. It entered the atmosphere at blistering speed. The pressure and friction superheated it to thousands of degrees. It never reached the ground. Instead, about 5 to 10 kilometers above the forest, it detonated. It exploded with the force of 15 megatons of TNT. This explains everything. It explains the blinding flash. It explains the intense heat wave, the thermal radiation that set shirts on fire 65 kilometers away. It explains the shock wave that flattened 80 million trees. It explains the telegraph poles at ground zero. The blast came straight down, stripping them bare instead of pushing them over. And it explains the most important clue of all. No crater, because nothing ever hit. The object vaporized in the sky. The Tunguska Event was a cosmic cold case, a reminder that the solar system is a shooting gallery, and we are the target. The object was enormous, but it was a fraction of the one that killed the dinosaurs. It struck the most remote place on Earth, a cosmic near miss. The mystery is not what happened. It is what if it had arrived just 4 hours later. The Earth's rotation would have placed it directly over St. Petersburg or London. The greatest disaster in modern history was avoided by a few short hours. Tunguska was a mystery of fire, an overwhelming external force that came from the sky, a cosmic event that left a scar on the Earth. But what about a mystery that comes not from the sky, but from the Earth itself? A force just as deadly, but silent and invisible. A mystery of ice and wind on another remote Russian mountain known as the Mountain of the Dead.